I would like to talk a bit on Iran. Okay, you might have heard something about Iran. What is happening? Some nuclear deal they are talking right now. So, this is a never-ending deal. I am teaching this nuclear deal for the last 20 years. Okay, so every 2-3 years, it will come back again and say that is bar theek ho jayega. So, every time when they say it will become okay, something else will go wrong and we are back to square one. Okay, so Iran and the Persian civilization, just to see, बहुत लोग अभी ईरान कहाँ है वो भी पता नहीं होगा, एक बार देख लो पहली बार जो आया है क्लास में आज. So Iran, which otherwise known as Persia, Persian civilization. See, Iranians are not Arabs. Okay, but right from next door, okay, right from Iraq, all Arabs, okay, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, Egypt, Libya, all Middle East, okay, what we call as Middle East, they are all Arab, part of the Arab civilization. Egyptian civilization was there. But Iranians are Persian. We have a lot of connections with Iran, as you know very well. Mughals and the medieval rulers came from Central Asia and Iran and all. And Iran was a very good country in the sense it is quite developed. It's not like other poor Islamic countries of Africa and all. Even they were much better than many of the Arab countries there as far as their development and progress is concerned. In fact, till 1979, okay, till 1979, Iran was ruled by the Shahs. Okay, Shah. Okay, Mughals time, the king was known as Shah. So in Iran, Persian, there are a lot of connections. That is the Shah, the same thing. So like a Hindu king, what do we call? Maharaj. So here, Shah. Now they call the kings as Shah. So Shah Pahlavi was the king. And the Shah was a very progressive man. In fact, recently also, when this hijab Rao came, our great Kangana Ranaut has tweeted something. Yeah, kya tha? She tweeted some photograph of Iranians. Okay, what was there before this revolution? Iranian revolution took place in 1979. There was a photograph of a beach where where women wearing bikinis and lying along the beach. The very common thing in Iran at that time, even though it was an Islamic country, very different levels of development and progress and all what we can say. But so the Shah was a very progressive man, and this Iran during the Cold War era, they were a close ally of USA. Iranians were close to US, and if you look even today, even in Olympics, they get more medals than what we get. India, now only we start getting a couple of medals. The last couple of, after independence, 2014. So the last couple of, Olympics, we are getting some medals. Otherwise, we used to come back with only one medal. What was that? Hockey medal. Okay, so that too, that ended in 1980. That was the last time we got a gold medal in hockey, and that was when most of the Western countries boycotted this Olympics. Okay, because it is 1980 Olympics was held in Moscow, and the Western countries boycotted it, Moscow Olympics. So there was no competition, and we won it. Very good. After that, we have not gone anywhere near that, because most of the Western European countries boycotted. So all these Netherlands, all those fellows did not participate. Anyway, so this Shah was a very close ally of US, and Iran started their nuclear program. Like even India started our nuclear program in 1960s, 50s and 60s. Even Iran started similar time. They also established some research reactors. They had good research scientists, nuclear scientists, research reactors in 1960s and 1970s especially. In fact, in early 1970s, Iranian king, or rather the Shah, Pahlavi, laid a roadmap for hundreds of megawatts of nuclear energy to be produced from in Iran. Okay, they even had a plan of that. So that was in 1970s. Finally, in 1979, the Iranian revolution took place, the Islamic revolution took place. Ayatollah Khomeini nahi. Ayatollah. See, Ayatollahs are like, Shankaracharya type, when you say the highest, okay, the highest religious leaders. In Christianity, when we talk about Pope and bishops and all, the same way, Ayatollahs are the, in Iran, in the Shia sect, they are the highest religious leaders. And it was an Islamic revolution. And Ayatollah Khomeini and his team, they captured power. Shah Pahlavi was thrown out. In fact, he was ruling the country since 1940. He came to power in 1940 and then he was finally thrown out in 1979. And as I told you, he was an ally of the US. And by this time this revolution took place, Shah was, he was already under medical treatment. He was having cancer. And when the revolution took place, immediately during the time revolution, he escaped to USA. Or rather, USA gave asylum mainly for treatment and all, but otherwise they was a very close ally. So when he escaped to US, the Islamic, the revolutionaries, they thought that US and Shah, they are trying to conspire to have a counter revolution and recapture and all. Shah was not doing anything because he was not in a position to do all those things. He was in the last days of his life, and he, within a few weeks, he died also in US. But meantime, what happened was that these revolutionaries stormed the US embassy in Tehran and captured all the embassy employees as hostages. 52 US citizens, the embassy officials were captured as, hostages. And they were kept in captivity for 444 days. Finally, this is in 1979 I am talking, okay, this happened in 1979. And finally, there is an agreement in 1981 and called Algiers agreement in 1981. Algiers, where is it? Capital of which country? ऐसा कोई country नहीं है. कुछ दिख रहा है? हाँ? Algeria's capital. The deal was struck. Algeria negotiated, and these hostages were released. Only one person died because of, I think, mental torture and all. I mean, they were literally tortured. It was a big, issue. Absolutely no doubt. And even the US tried to, rescue these hostages. There was a secret operation done by them, but that operation failed. Okay, so that was called Operation Eagle Claw. अगर time मिलेगा तो you just try to read, or even movies were made out of that. They failed. In fact, the plane crashed also. They were trying to rescue them by sending secret agents, low flying aircrafts, reaching and then evacuating and all. and this failed. The plane crashed. 8 the officers, American military men, died also in that. So it was a big event at that time. Anyway, so since the diplomatic row and the capture, there is no diplomatic relations between US and Iran. Even today, there is no diplomatic relations between US and Iran. Even today, they don't talk each other. They don't have embassies in each other's country, and they have appointed, I think, Switzerland as their contact point. If US wants to convey some message to Iran, they will tell to Switzerland, भाई मैं समझा रहा हूँ तुमको, तो स्विट्जरलैंड जाके समझाएगा, वो बोलेगा कि ठीक है समझ में आ गया. तो so they will act like when you fight at home, डायरेक्ट नहीं बात करेगा, मे बी फाइटिंग ब्रदर्स और सिस्टर्स ना, क्या करेगा, मदर को बोले माँ मैं समझा रहा हूँ, इसको समझाओ, ओके, सामने ही खड़ा है, इसको समझाओ, ओके. सो the same thing. So Switzerland is kept as the common point, whereby whatever communications are there, they do that. Since, in fact, for the first time in 2013, after this 79, Barack Obama directly spoke to the Iranian president. That is the first time when they were arriving at an agreement. So that is the first time. We will come to that. So no diplomatic relations between them. And after 1979, after the Islamic Revolution, Iran was also busy with all those activities and not so interested in science and technology and all. Like in India, we are experimenting with the Go Mutra and Gobar. Okay, so there also they did their own Gobar research, and science and technology were kept in the back burner. So now yesterday, by the way, Prime Minister of India told that he will be doing something to export Gobar, so that the farmers of UP can be benefited. Yesterday's revelation. So let us hope how we export Gobar. Okay, Gobar economics. So anyway, so in 1984, some of the Iranian scientists managed to convince Ayatollah Khomeini that we need to something about the already existing nuclear activities and all. So it seems Iran restarted its nuclear program in 1984, but secretly. See, what is happening is, Iran is a signatory of NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that they signed during Shah Pahlavi's time. That was done before the revolution. That was done in late 60s and early 70s when the negotiations were going on. Iran signed that. And as per the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, they signed as a non-weapon state. Okay, they have signed it as a non-weapon state. See, there are only, as per the nuclear NPT, there are only 5 countries, they are weapon states. 5 weapon states are there. As we know very well, the permanent 5, they are the N5 or the P5 of the world. Permanent 5 in the UN Security Council and N5, the nuclear 5 of the world. As per the NPT, that is USA, Russia, UK, France and China. As you know, I am just repeating for you. Okay. So all other countries were supposed to join as non-weapon states. Iran also joined as a non-weapon state. Only 3 of us did not join, as you know very well. India did not join. India said, "Ye thoda theek nahi lag raha hai." India said it's a discriminatory treaty, so I am not joining. So when India said we are not joining, Pakistan also said, "Humko samajh mein nahi aaya, lekin I am also not joining." Okay, so no other reason. Okay, so cow dung cakes are available in Amazon. Very good. हमारा देश तरक्की कर रहे हैं. ओके, गोबर और इंटरनेट में आ रहे हैं, ठीक है, बहुत बढ़िया, ओके, और करो, इंडिया बहुत प्रोग्रेस में है, समझ में आ रहा है, ओके. सो इंडिया डिड नॉट ज्वाइन, पाकिस्तान डिड नॉट ज्वाइन, Israel did not join. Even though Israel is an ally of the US, Israel also did not join. So the we three never joined. Now, right now in 2003, North Korea walked out. They joined, but they walked out. Now they are also not a signatory. North Korea. Okay, the present status I am talking. And one more country who did not join, not because they did not want to join, they have no mechanism or the capacity to join, that is South Sudan. बहुत गरीब है, उधर जाने के लिए फ्लाइट टिकट लेने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, इसलिए नहीं जा रहे. ओके, सो South Sudan has also not joined. Nobody is complaining because they are such a poor country, they will not do anything. Nuclear N भी पता नहीं उनको, so there is no issue for them. Okay, so these are the 5 countries not there in the NPT. Otherwise, all others are signatories of NPT. And please remember, as a signatory of NPT, North Korea, they walked out. Okay, please remember. So they are also outside NPT right now. As a signatory of NPT, as a non-weapon state, all non-weapon states should, report to IAEA. International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. So any term, any word which I say, if you are not able to understand, don't get upset, go back home, search in internet, सब पूरा हिस्ट्री निकल आएगा बाहर, पढ़ लो, नोट्स बना लो, मजा आ जाएगा. Okay, if I start to explain what is IAEA now, then I will not be able to talk about Iran. Okay, so this is it's a UN agency, and this agency is given the responsibility of inspections. They have to report to IAEA, and IAEA has, they have a mandate. They will inspect the facilities in these non-weapon states to check whether they have any weapon program or not. Non-weapon states cannot have weapon program, but they can have, all non-weapon states, they can have civilian nuclear program. Civilian nuclear program, meaning, okay, civilian nuclear program, meaning they can generate power, electricity. So they can have nuclear power plants. They can have this nuclear research for medicine. Is it not? Like a lot of, radiations and cancer treatment and so many areas. Nuclear isotopes are used in medicine. It can be used in agriculture. It can be used in industry. Now, basically the radioisotopes. Now, फिर doubt हो गया, what is radioisotope? Cross check at home. Okay, radioisotopes, the radioactive capacity. Certain isotopes have radioactive potential, so these radioisotopes can be used for that. Anyway, so the IAEA will inspect, and first requirement is, if before you start any program, you inform IAEA first. Why? I am trying to start a new nuclear facility. You please come and inspect. So I am ready. I have no intention of making any weapon. I want only this for civilian. It is a civilian program. It is for the development of the development, science and technology. They are permitted. So, but Iran did not inform this. Okay. So the point is, in 1984 when they started, they did not inform, and in fact they started 2 facilities. One at a place called Natanz, and another at a place called Iraq. So they started 2 facilities, one at Natanz, another at Iraq, and it was not disclosed. So they kept on continuing with this secret program, and Iran, since they were not having any diplomatic relations with the US, they were always on the bad books of the US, and Iran was also accused of supporting all the rebels. Wherever rebels are there fighting against the US, they will support them. So this kind of activities were going on. So especially against Israel, the Iranians used to support the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, as well as Hezbollah rebels in Lebanon. Hezbollah was a very organized anti-Israel force, and they used to really fight against them. So PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, under Yasser Arafat. Yemen and all now. I am talking about at that time, okay, even in 90s, now they are supporting Yemen also, they are supporting Syria also, there are many other places, but Yasser Arafat and all, I am talking about right from 1970s, I mean not 1980s, after the Islamic Revolution, 1980s and 1990s and all, they were very happily supporting. So they were never in the good books, they were seen. In fact, US used to call them as mercenaries and rebels and terrorists and what not. Finally, a turning point came in the whole secret activity was in 2002. So in 2002, a couple of rebels from Iran, they had there are some rebels there against the Islamic, the Ayatollah Khomeini rule. Meantime, Ayatollah Khomeini died, that was in 1989, just for your information. Then another Ayatollah, see, this is a 100% theocratic state, 100% religious state. I mean, even though some elections and all are conducted, these are all, stage managed elections. The worst part of the Iranian election is, of course, they do conduct election. There is no manipulation when the elections are conducted. But when the candidature comes, Iranian election system is such that before you contest the election, you have to take permission from the Supreme Council, the religious council. So all candidates can apply. It's like they can apply to election commission. Election commission is the Supreme Religious Council headed by our Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, Khomeini will tell who can contest, who cannot contest. Suppose normally on an average, at least 1,000 applications will come. Khomeini will choose 5 or 6 and say, "Okay, you 6 can contest the election." Baki 994, bola, you are not eligible to contest. That depends on their religious track record and their, and out of this 5, 6, one fellow may look like a bit moderate. People have only that choice. You give 10 terrorists, and then we find that out of them, one terrorist is less, it's not that hard, because dheere goli chalata hai wo. Are you getting this? So then we declare them as moderates and hardliners. That is what we do ultimately. So these elections are held properly. After that, election is proper. But when there is no choice, when you cannot contest the election, you have to take permission from Ayatollah Khomeini to contest the election. So there is nothing free and fair there. There is no election. I mean, these are all, okay, for your satisfaction, okay, you can say, okay, there is election. That is how it happened. So 89, after Khomeini's death, Ayatollah Khomeini has been replaced by Khomeini. Otherwise, he is another Ayatollah. If this Khomeini dies, another Ayatollah will come. So that is fixed. That is controlled by the senior religious leaders. There is no doubt regarding this. There is no democracy, nothing in that. They will choose one of them, and the next fellow will be like that. But this Supreme Council there, that is like a Rajya Sabha type they have. The Supreme Council it is headed by, or rather it is full of religious leaders. They will vet and tell who can contest for the presidential election. So Khomeini, this Ayatollah Khomeini, they are known as the supreme leader. So there is a supreme leader. So Iran, after revolution, they had only 2 supreme leaders till now, Ayatollah Khomeini, after his death, Ayatollah Khomeini. Now the supreme leader and his religious clergy will decide who can contest the election. And in Iran, they conduct elections every 4 years. So there is, in that you will get a president. So president is the normal executive authority in Iran. And similarly, they conduct parliament election also. Again, the Supreme Council will decide who all can contest the parliament election. So if you look that way, you can say there is some democracy, but that is not a democracy. When you cannot choose, or rather when you cannot decide who can contest and who cannot contest, that freedom is not there. So then it is not democracy at all. Anyway, but still, so after Khamenei came to power, and he was considered to be a bit moderate than the original Khomeini. Then presidential elections. Okay, so that is how things were happening, and by 1990s, we started seeing that these leaders are becoming a bit moderate compared to the previous ones. It looked like a bit moderate. Okay, so there was the Iranian president for 8. So normally they get 2 terms. So 8 years they rule. Then they go for they will be asked to retire, and some other 5 or 6 people will be selected by Khamenei, so that you contest the election now. So in early 90s, there was Rafsanjani, RAF, Rafsanjani. Rafsanjani was considered to be a bit moderate. He visited India also during P.V. Narasimha Rao's time, and we used to see him as comparatively moderate than what was happening in 70s and 80s. Then he was replaced by Mohammad Khatami. Mohammad Khatami was seen even more moderate than the previous ones. So we thought that Iran is moving in the path of liberalization or liberal politics, and less hardline leaders are coming. We thought that things will normalize, but that did not happen. But in 2002, some of the rebels, okay, there is a National Council of Resistance. National Council of Resistance. They escaped, some of the rebels escaped to US and did a press conference and declared that Iran has 2 secret nuclear facilities in, of course, Natanz and in Iraq. So that is how the whole world came to know that Iran has a secret nuclear program. Till then, we did not have any idea about that. So when they openly declared in a press conference, the US, and Israel and all, using their spy satellites and all, they tried to find out, and they pinpointed the location. When they pinpointed the location, Iran admitted that they have. Yes, we have. Then Iran said, but I have nothing to hide. Okay, it's quite accidental that I did not disclose. Now, IAEA, please come. Please inspect. Abhi bata raha hu, aa jao. So naturally, if Iran is openly coming and telling that after 22 years, 1984 to 2002, 18 years, right? So after 18 years, if Iran is disclosing that, naturally, they might have cleaned up everything. झाड़ू वाजू पोछा लगाया होगा, बोला कि आ जाओ डिस्कस देखो. So IAEA went, they inspected, and they could not find anything. Obviously, we should be fools to think that okay, they will leave some mark there. So nothing was found, nothing untoward or nothing secret they could discover. So they could not find anything. But now, what the US said is, now US is under the leadership of George W. Bush. George W. Bush said, immediately, George W. Bush declared Iran as part of axis of evil. Well, these are all evils we need to fight and eliminate. And according to George W. Bush, there are 3 evils in this world. Who are those 3 evils? Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. Iraq was under Saddam Hussein at that time. He did not attack Saddam Hussein till then. Okay. So in 2002 itself, George Bush said that there are 3 evils in this world. So Iran was very upset. How dare you call me evil? So chalta gaya. And North Korea. So North Korea walked out of NPT only because in protest against US called them evil. हमें evil कैसे बोला? मैं I am walking out of NPT. And they went and conducted a nuclear test in 2006 to protest against calling me evil. If you call me evil, I will explode a bomb. Okay, so so that was our North Korean leaders' reaction. Anyway, Iran भी बोला ये ऐसे नहीं हो सकता. So the fight, the present day nuclear fight between the Iran and the rest of the world started in 2002 when these rebels disclosed that Iran has 2 nuclear sites outside the IAEA inspection. IAEA went, but they could not find anything. And now the US position, what is the US position at this time? USA's position in say 2002, immediately after this discovery that they had some secrets. Now US says Iran has no right to have any nuclear program, including civilian program. Okay, Iran has no right to have any nuclear program, including civilian program. So, for making nuclear weapon, to whom we need to ask? You cannot. I mean, somebody is asking if you want to make nuclear weapon, from whom we should take permission. तुमको permission मिलेगा ही नहीं. Permission is denied. Only 5 countries in this world have permission to make weapon. That is the P5. India managed to explode a bomb because we did not participate in that agreement. We did not join NPT. So, we are not bound by any treaty. So, we made. Pakistan is also not bound by the treaty. So, they also made. North Korea, they are again outside the treaty. So, they exploded it. After they exploded in 2008, then in 2009, in 12, they have conducted 4 tests in the last 15 years. Okay. So, we are 3 fellows conducted tests outside the NPT program. Otherwise, no other country can. They have no right. They cannot. You will not get the permission in the first place. Okay. So, anyway, so Iran has, now the US position is, you cannot have even peaceful nuclear program because your intentions are wrong. US says Iran's intentions are wrong. You secretly did this for 18 years. Now, I will not. They should stop. They should wind up everything. No nuclear program. Now, what is Iran's position? Iran said, how can you say this? You did not find anything. You did not find anything fishy from my 2 reactors there. I did not violate any law. You did not get any evidence. So, I have a right. Now, Iran says they have a right. They are not saying they have a right to make weapons. They are only saying we have a right to have peaceful program. Peaceful nuclear program. Iran is insisting only one thing. You cannot deny my right to have my right to have civilian program. I am not going for any weapon. I respect NPT, but allow me to have civilian programs. US says your intentions are wrong, so you cannot. Very good. Now, what is India's position? India has rejected NPT. Remember, we said NPT is a discriminatory treaty. It will not solve the problems of the world. इससे कोई फायदा नहीं. The world is not safe because of NPT. So, we reject. We rejected. Now, India says, ईरान को बोल रहे, हमारा तो एकदम solid stand होता है सब में. India told US there should be a peaceful solution to the problem. Okay, मारना नहीं, सिर्फ बोलो. Okay, so peaceful solution to the problem. That means no attack and all. Actually, we will. George Bush का पता है इनको attack, तो पहले attack शुरू कर देगा. So don't attack. Peaceful. Then we told Iran, please respect the provisions of NPT. Okay, please respect NPT. You are a signatory of that. NPT will solve your problem. We rejected it. So I still remember an article at that time, one of our foreign diplomats he wrote, he said, it is like a drunkard advising the youth about the harmful effects of occasional drinking. India's advice to Iran, okay, drunkard advising youth about the harmful effects of occasional drinking. This is what India did. हम तो इसमें माहिर है भाई. Okay, so India said Iran should respect NPT. So anyway, now meantime in 2005, in Iran elections took place. Okay, I mean this Mohammad Khatami's time over, 8 years gone. So now next round of elections, and this time a firebrand young leader, I mean maybe our Khamenei could not get identify him properly. So ये सोचा कि ये मैं जो भी बोलूँगा सुनेगा type, but unfortunately this man was not willing to listen to even Khamenei properly. So Ahmadinejad, a firebrand young hardliner, he came to power. He won the presidential election. And otherwise, every time we were getting some moderates with less statements and all, but this man was now he took this nuclear issue as a matter of prestige. And he had very little to offer to the people of Iran. हमेशा इंडिया में भी है ना, पाकिस्तान फिर हिंदू मुस्लिम, so that we can divert the attention of the people from all the pressing problems of unemployment, poverty, everything, the same thing. Ahmadinejad had nothing to offer as far as a solution to the country's problems. In fact, Iran even fought a bloody war between 1980, 80 to 84, I think, Iran and Iraq war, and it was a very devastating, disastrous war. No final winner also, but their economies were completely destroyed because of their war. So they had nothing to offer, and but the problems continued, unemployment continued, economy was in real bad shape. But he got this nuclear issue as a matter of prestige, and he said Iran has a right to have nuclear weapons or other nuclear research, not weapons. They are saying Iran has a right to have nuclear research, and he started, starting there as a part of the nuclear research, he started enrichment of uranium. So Iran signed it in 1970s and they continued as a secret program. And why countries sign NPT? Because these big bosses used to come and tell, come sign. So all fell in line and all of them signed. Countries, nobody thought even India will stand up and say, I will not sign. There was tremendous pressure on Indira Gandhi to sign. She did not. She withstood the pressure, and then we conducted the nuclear test in 1974 without signing. That itself was, very brave step by India. Otherwise, nobody thought India will be able to do this, and we did it, and that is how. And we called, Indira Gandhi immediately called it as PNE. What is that? Peaceful nuclear explosion. Dheere se. Peaceful. What is peaceful in nuclear explosion, yaar? So हमने समझाया दुनिया को, देखो हम धीरे से करेंगे, पूरा नहीं फोड़ेंगे, peaceful nuclear explosion. Anyway, so, but we did it. But this was not expected. The Western world, as well as even Russia, see, even though we were an ally of or other, we signed a peaceful friendship treaty with the USSR. Even the USSR did not expect India will not sign NPT. Everybody wanted, because so that they can monopolize. This N5 can monopolize the nuclear weapon. They did not want. Nobody wanted others to come and join their club. So there is tremendous pressure on all other countries. That is why under that pressure others signed. India did not sign, so Pakistan did not sign. So that whenever pressure on Pakistan, they will say, India ko bolo. You tell India, let India sign. I will also. In fact, Pakistan one day declared that if India signs NPT in the morning, I will sign in the afternoon. एक बार करके दिखाओ, उनसे उनको बोलो, no. So they used to deflect their pressure on India, but we withstood the pressure. That is how we are there today. So anyway, those things we will talk later on in the Indo-US nuclear deal, in many of you have already said. Anyway, so this enrichment of the uranium. Now, what is this enrichment of the uranium? See, in fact, when you talk about the weapons, there are two ways of making weapons. One is the normal way, where most of the countries in the world, including the P5 and even India, all have weapons by using plutonium as the fuel. Plutonium is 93 in the atomic table, okay, in the periodic table, 93. Uranium is 92, plutonium is 93, and uranium is the last naturally occurring element. After 92, none of these elements are found in the nature. We have up to 115, but only in laboratories. Similarly, plutonium is a byproduct of a nuclear reactor. So we can segregate this plutonium, okay, especially plutonium 239 and 240. These are segregated and it can be used for weapon program. But for that you need a nuclear reactor first. That normal reaction should happen. From that you can reprocess the whatever is left behind in the reactor, and from that plutonium can be taken out, plutonium can be used as a, and this is the most reliable source of, or the what you call the fissile material, what you call the nuclear material or the nuclear fuel, we call it as the fissile. Fissile means which will undergo fission, fissile material. Okay, the radioactive element which will undergo fission, fissile material, plutonium. That is what normally does. But if you don't want to go that route, there is one more option, but that is a slightly difficult, less I will say it is scientific, but it is less reliable. That is, you can also use from uranium. You can also make a weapon from uranium, but then we have to identify a particular isotope of uranium. Now let us see what is happening. Uranium has two major isotopes, uranium 238 and uranium 235. There are two isotopes of uranium which are found in nature. Okay, if you mine uranium, if you extract uranium, if you finally segregate uranium, this uranium will have two things. One, uranium 238, which is 99.3%. If you take 100 kilograms of uranium, 99.3 kilogram will be uranium 238. Uranium 238 means, protons and neutron difference. I hope you know that this is the, what is the mass number? 238 is the mass number. Atomic number is 92. Proton number, P is 92, proton is 92, neutron 146. There are 146 neutrons in that nucleus and 92 protons in, so these two add together is 238. Okay? Then there is another uranium, another isotope 235, proton is 92, वो कोई change नहीं है, neutron is 143. Again naturally found, but they are only 0.7%. Okay, if you take 100 kilogram, it is a natural mix, naturally found. But there are other uranium isotopes, like uranium 233 is also there, but again it is a artificial one. Uranium 233 is there. In that case, P is equal to 92 and N is equal to 141. 234 bhi hai, but 234 will not last even a few minutes. It will disintegrate once again. There is 233, 34, 35, 38, at least these four are quite common. But this is naturally available. Now, if you take this as fuel, it will never explode. because chain reaction should take place and it is not good enough to explode. But scientists have found that if you increase the percentage of uranium-235 in the mix, I am repeating, if you increase the percentage of uranium-235 in the mix, then it can be used as a weapon also. Okay? So, this process of increasing the percentage of uranium-235 in the uranium mix is known as enrichment of uranium. Are you getting what I am saying? The process of increasing the percentage of uranium-235 in the mix is known as enrichment of uranium. Okay? Enrichment of uranium. Now, even for normal nuclear reactors, we need enriched uranium. So, we have three categories of enriched uranium. Some of you will be knowing, but still I am repeating so that you will not have any confusion. See, one is called SEU, slightly enriched uranium. If you are increasing the percentage of uranium-235 from 0.7 to 2%, if it is anything in between, we increased the percentage from 0.7 to 2%. Between that, if it become 1%, for example, then it is called slightly enriched uranium. Then there is low enriched uranium, LEU. If uranium-235 percentage increases between, or other, if it is anywhere between 2 to 20%, we call it as low enriched uranium. Okay? And then there is HEU, highly enriched uranium, meaning uranium-235 percentage has been increased between or anything above 20%, 20 to 99%, it becomes highly enriched uranium. Are you okay? So, what is enriched uranium? Where the percentage of uranium-235 is more than 0.7%, that is what is naturally found. If the percentage is more than 0.7%, then it is called enriched uranium. There are three categories of enriched uranium: slightly enriched uranium, low enriched uranium, and highly enriched uranium. Now, slightly enriched uranium is normally used in some of the reactors, like light water reactors. We have set up a power plant in Kodamkulam. Where is Kodamkulam? Tamil Nadu, near Kanyakumari. We have 1000 megawatt light water reactors which were set up with the help of Russia. There it is slightly enriched uranium is used, because that design is like that. Then we have in India, we have pressurized heavy water reactors. I am not getting into the performance and how it functions and all. Please understand, these are most of the Indian, this is a Canadian design, we got it from Canada. And these pressurized heavy water reactors normally used 3 to 4% enriched uranium, 3 to 4%, and that is LEU, 3 to 4% enriched uranium. Then this highly enriched uranium, normally it is not used in the reactors and all. This is requirement is more, if at all we need other than weapons, it is for medicinal purpose and all, the nuclear medicine. And if you are interested in making this as a weapon, then the enrichment should be 90% plus. Uranium-235 means it can be used in weapons. So, Iran said, now they are a signatory. As a signatory, you can enrich uranium to slightly enriched and low enriched and all. If you are to cross 20%, then question mark will be raised. Then why do you want this? Iran said, we would like to enrich for peaceful purpose. And dhire they started enriching more. And the equipment which they use for enrichment is known as centrifuges. centrifuges are used. I mean, some sort of, rotation and throwing out the heavier part. The centrifuges are used to spin the nuclear fuel, and then their segregation is possible, and they started enriching uranium as part of their peaceful program, civilian program. But the problem is, if you initially, if you enrich, okay, it may be, you may be able to enrich 3%, 4%, 5%, ऐसे चलता रहेगा. But if you continue this process for more time, धीरे धीरे the percentage will increase, and ultimately if you want to have a program, if you want to have a enriched uranium of 90% plus, you will achieve. It may take 1 year, it may take 2 years. So Ahmadinejad, when he came to power, he said, I would like to enrich uranium as part of my nuclear technology, and we want to know more about enrichment. मुझे मजा आता है enrichment में, हमारे national pride है enrichment, and Iran will be happy to find the technology and learn the technology, enrich uranium. So then when they started enriching, many countries compromise, सब लोग बोला नहीं मत करो यार, ये मत करो. Then everybody knows that if you learn this trick very well, today you may be enriching very less, but tomorrow you will increase, and then it will become weapon grade uranium. So once Russia said, तुमको क्या चाहिए? Enrichment. मैं enriched दे देता हूँ. As a part of the, see, there are a lot of discussion and negotiation took place. Once Russia offered them, as part of the negotiation, you want enriched uranium, I will give you enriched uranium. You do whatever you want. Iran said, नहीं, तुम्हारा enriched नहीं, मैं खुद, I myself will make this and see. Then Russia gave another offer. बोला ठीक है, तुमको enrich करना है ना, आ जाओ, come to Russia. I will dedicate one plant for you. You send your scientists, इधर बैठ के enrich कर. Iran said, नहीं, हमारी soil में होना चाहिए. It should happen in my soil. Okay. Then there is another compromise formula worked out by Turkey and Brazil. They also gave many ideas, many steps, but every time Ahmadinejad said, कुछ नहीं पता, मुझे मेरे soil पे मैं खुद करूँगा. And George Bush type fellows, they said, नहीं, I will attack. अभी कभी भी मैं attack कर रहा हूँ. तो सब लोग मिलके नहीं, मत करो, मत मारो. So this give and take was continuing for quite some time. Okay. So, but no final solution. So Ahmadinejad, he ended up having more than 20,000 centrifuges. He kept on increasing because it is not a big technology to have a centrifuge. They kept on increasing the number, and it was understood by this time that if Iran go all out, Iran may be able to create a nuclear bomb within the next 6 months at any given time, because they have set up that many centrifuges. And when they started this centrifuge construction and enrichment of the uranium, the US at that time under George Bush, they went to UN. UN has all permanent, including Russia, China, all of them are there. They started through UN, they started imposing sanctions against Iran. Okay, they said, if you are doing like this, we will impose sanctions. That means restrictions. Sanctions are some or other restriction on Iran. But if UN Security Council is passing a resolution, then it can be implemented and nobody can question that. Okay. So even Russia, even China, all of them were supporting this sanction. Please understand, even though Russia and China had difference of opinion on many issues with the US, they all participated. In fact, in 2006, the first round of major sanctions started. 2006, UN sanctions, and a Security Council, UNSC resolution number 1737. Okay, there is the first round of sanctions in the nuclear, after the nuclear diplomacy started or other nuclear controversy started. The first UN resolution against Iran was in 2006 in the United Nations Security Council resolution asking Iran to stop the centrifuge activity, enrichment activity. And then in 2007 another resolution came, again a UN resolution in 2007, then 2008 a third resolution, and then a fourth resolution in 2010. This is resolution number 1929. This is the last major resolution passed against Iran, and in that it banned Iran from participating in any activity related to ballistic missiles and complete arms embargo. Nobody can sell arms to Iran. Travel ban on individuals involved in the program, and they also even ordered freezing assets of Iran outside Iran. Okay, so one by one steps were taken. So 2006 onwards the resolutions were taken, and please understand, in UN Security Council if a resolution is to be passed, all 5 permanent members should support, including China, including Russia. All of them supported. Please don't forget this. The resolutions against Iran till 2010, all of them were passed with the support of Russia, with the support of China. That means they did not oppose, they did not came for a veto. They can use their veto power. They did not use the veto power, and Iran, and the last resolution was in 2010, whereby Iran was asked, all these restrictions were kept. Even then Ahmadinejad kept on saying, it is my, it's my sovereign right to enrich uranium. And meantime, Ayatollah, Khamenei even issued a fatwa banning all nuclear weapons in Iran. बोला कि हम लोग nuclear weapon नहीं बना रहे, we are not making nuclear weapon. So he was even issued a fatwa saying that Iran cannot, nobody can make any nuclear weapon in Iran. तब भी क्या, you are enriching on one side, on the other side you are issuing fatwa, कोई value नहीं है. So this to and fro was going on, and meantime in 2009 one big incident happened in 2009. That was in September 2009, after a G7, rather a G8 summit. The US President Barack Obama, by this time, 2009, 2008, George Bush term completed. Now it's a turn of Barack Obama. Barack Obama, British Prime Minister at that time, even the French President, all these three gave a press conference and declared that Iran has another secret nuclear facility. Okay. So 2002, rebels said they have 2 secret facilities. Now the US, UK and the French presidents, they came to a press conference in 2009 and declared that Iran has another secret nuclear facility at a place called Fordow, Fordow, near the holy city of Qom, Qom. There is a holy city in the mountains, below the mountain. They have created a secret underground facility at a place called Fordow. They have another nuclear facility, Iran. फिर Iran क्या करेगा? They gave all evidence, press conference. Iran said, yes, we have. We were about to disclose. हम आ ही रहा था, उसके पहले तुम जाके बोल दिया, मैं क्या करूं? आ जाओ, चेक करो. You come and check. Again Iran said, we were about to disclose. तो जल्दीबाजी क्या है? बनाने दो, तब disclose करूंगा. So again, our IAEA could not find anything. Yeah, if Iran is willfully allowing, before allowing they will remove everything what is suspicious. So they did again. So once again they could not find anything. So this going on. Now in early 2012, now meantime IAEA by 11, IAEA once again They used to give annual reports, periodic reports about the inspection, because they are inspecting. Now, IAEA gave a report saying that they cannot certify that Iran is not pursuing a weapon program. Okay, two negative terms. Okay, ab dekho, I cannot certify you are not preparing for civil service. Yeah, you are not studying. Suppose your father comes or your parents come and ask, sir, ye padh rahe? मैं बोलूं, लिखिए, I cannot certify your ward is not studying properly. उसका मतलब your ward is studying, not studying, जो भी है, certified नहीं मिल रहा है. The same way, Iran, the IAEA says, I cannot certify that Iran is not pursuing a secret weapon program. But IAEA did not certify that they are pursuing a weapon program. ये तो बोल नहीं रहे कि they are pursuing, लेकिन मैं नहीं बोल सकता. ये तो, this is what exactly these kind of reports is like Indian Election Commission reports these days. Okay, and they have completely surrendered and they don't give any report, they do not, and you don't even hear about Election Commissioner saying anything also, koi baat nahi. So the same thing happened under pressure from the US and the Western world. IAEA said that we cannot certify. Now the moment IAEA said that we cannot certify, the US said that let us have another round of sanctions, another round of UN sanctions, and this time they wanted to prevent Iran from selling oil. Now the US and the allies said that now Iran ko control karne ke liye there is only one way, prevent Iran from selling oil, because that is their only source of income. Oil embargo. Prevent Iran. So nobody should buy. In a UN resolution, if the UN is passing a resolution, Security Council passes a resolution and say that no country can buy oil from Iran, then nobody can buy. Meantime, they have also imposed some restrictions on the financial transactions and all. Now, when the US insisted that let us go for this sanction, Russia and China did not agree. Okay, first time Russia and China opposed. So the moment Russia and China opposed, no resolution, because they can use veto power, they can veto the resolution. So they said they will use the veto. So first time in end of 2011, Russia and China opposed any further sanctions against Iran. And then in January 2012, the US and its allies and the European countries, they impose unilateral sanctions. Now, no UN involvement. After January 2012, no UN involvement. But the US has so much of clout and power. They started asking every country, including India, Bola, don't buy oil from Iran. You buy from anywhere you want, but don't buy oil from Iran. Initially, India said that, nahi, aise kaise hoga? Hame chahiye. We are 80% dependent on. So, but even China for that matter, even though they opposed the UN resolution, and every time when, every 3 months, the US used to put pressure, and both India, China, most of the countries started reducing, and again, payment became a problem, because how will you transfer money? And international, any transfer of money, what is the system? Like IFSC code we have. If you have to transfer money from India to say US, what is the mechanism? How will you interact between the Indian bank and the US bank? IFSC. Some code is there. What code? SWIFT. Check kar lo. SWIFT code. I mean, that is the international transaction mechanism. So if you want to transfer money, you can do, but suppose suppose somebody wants to send some money to you, I hope somebody is there like that. If it is there, not there, please wait, somebody will come. Okay, so you have to give your bank account number, then your IFSC code as well as India's SWIFT code. India has a code. Then from US or any other country, they will be able to transfer. Anyway, so that is secondary. So this SWIFT, the Americans or other under pressure from US and Europe, Iran was thrown out of the SWIFT mechanism, whereby no way we can transfer money. So since we were not able to pay them, see, Iran is supplying oil, but we are not able to pay them. Iran said, you give me money, but India said, how can I give? There is no mechanism only. So automatically the trade between India and Iran started declining automatically. Even the oil purchase we started avoiding because it is very difficult for us to even pay. So things became, economically Iran started suffering. Iran started suffering. Even though there is no UN sanction, there is no UN resolution, Iran started suffering. Meantime, another event happened was in 2010. Israel, they have done, they are very good in secret activities and sabotaging. They developed a virus, okay, and unleashed this virus in the internet, so that this virus could go and attack the centrifuges. See, because what happened was that these centrifuges are all electronic, they use some electronic equipment, so they were using some control panel made by Siemens. Siemens is an international company. So the Israelis, they secretly entered into, maybe directly, indirectly, without knowing, the Siemens authorities knowing, they have studied the control panel used by these centrifuges. They unleashed these this virus, and they made the name as Stuxnet. The virus named as Stuxnet. They unleashed it in the internet, and these viruses went and attacked these Iranian centrifuges, and many of these centrifuges got destroyed. So nobody knows how many got destroyed, but it is a open fact and a known fact that Israelis did it, and Iran suffered. Naturally they suffered, but still they could not destroy everything. It was a setback for Iran, but they continued. Okay, so this is going on. Meantime, so right from 2007-8, Germany took some initiative. When these fightings were going on, Germany took some initiative to find a solution to the problem. But Germany also knew that they themselves cannot do unless US and other UN, the main P5 countries agree. So this P5, permanent 5 of the UN Security Council, that is USA, Russia, China, UK and France, they are the permanent 5 also. And this P5 plus 1, that is Germany. When Germany took the initiative, even European Union participated. So the European Union is not counted in the P5 plus 1. It is understood that because European Union is nothing but, these UK, France, Germany, all are there. So the European Union is, automatic. So European Union also was involving. So this P5 plus 1, that means Germany took initiative, and Germany was the, I'll say, middleman between the permanent 5 and Iran. They started negotiating, and this, but no major progress in the beginning. But in 2012, once again, after the, the sanctions were imposed, unilateral sanctions were imposed, P5 plus 1 became active once again. They started, intense negotiations started. Meantime, in June 2013, Ahmadinejad completed his 2 terms. And now our Ayatollah Khamenei became more careful. Itna bhi bada firebrand nahi chahiye humko. Okay, now he has brought the country almost on the verge of a war. Because of his strong position taken, see, now he cannot go back also, it's a national pride, and even Khamenei cannot say that we don't want to enrich uranium, and it has been linked with the Iranian pride. So Khamenei this time he ensured that whoever comes to power, that the candidates to be chosen. So Khamenei and team chose such candidates that all are moderates, no more firebrands. And Khamenei chose a person whom he knew for at least 4 decades, 40 years of association, Hassan Rouhani. And in fact, Hassan Rouhani was a close associate of Khamenei. Not only that, he was even involved in the nuclear talks before Ahmadinejad came to power. So he had good understanding of this, and he was immediately seen as a moderate. And the moment he came to power, he declared that we would like to find a solution to the problem, and P5+1. He said we will cooperate with P5+1. And meantime, in September 2013, for the first time, our American President Barack Obama rang up Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. For the first time, direct talks between them after 1979. Okay, first time direct talks. General things they talk, they did not talk anything specific. हाल चाल पूछा, मौसम कैसा है, बारिश हो रहे नहीं हो रहे, ठीक है, इधर गर्मी है, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. तो ये तो हम लोग भी करते थे ना, हमारे टाइम में हम चिट्ठी लिखते थे घर पे. ओके, पैसा जब चाहिए चिट्ठी लिखेगा, नो फोन नथिंग. सो पूरा मौसम विभाग टाइप ना, इधर पूरा बारिश चल रहा है, वो ठंड है, ठीक नहीं है, लास्ट पैराग्राफ प्लीज सेंड सम मनी. ओके, वो लास्ट में लिखेगा, पहले पूरा मौसम के एंडमेंट. ओके, सो सेम थिंग. So they talked for the first time, September 2013, that happened. So negotiations continued, and finally, after almost 1 year of negotiation which took place, in November 2013, P5+1 plus Iran, an interim agreement. Okay, and interim agreement was signed, and then further negotiation. Interim means they have agreed that they can, but the nitty-gritties were not agreed. Negotiations went on, and this ultimately led to a final agreement in July 2015. Just imagine, more than 1.5 years after the interim agreement they negotiated, and they finally agreed in 2015. And this 2015 agreement is called the, what is that, JCOP, you know, क्या था, joint, JCPOA, sorry, JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Okay, JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action 2015 was signed. And please remember, this is a compromise formula. Just see, what I am trying to tell you is, you should see the respective positions. The respective position is, US said, you have no right to have even a peaceful program. Iran said that I have full rights to have peaceful program. Now it has to be in between that. Now in this, the US agreed. Okay, a big climb down by Obama and the US. US means the P5+1. The P5+1 agreed that Iran has a right to peaceful nuclear program. See, that is a big climb down by the Western world. That is a big victory for Iran. You cannot, overlook that, because what Americans were telling till that point, you have no right. Now you are saying, yes, you have a right. But yes, then they put a lot of conditions in that. But the first primary victory, yes, Iran, they said, we want that right. You cannot question that right. Iran started repeatedly saying only one thing, we have already declared we are not making any weapon, but that declaration has no value. That declaration has no value, but Iran is always saying, there is no evidence against us. We are repeatedly telling that we are going only for a peaceful program. We are not making weapons. That is what they always said. So this has been agreed, and then other than the other parts of the agreement, and in the process, US also agreed that they will waive sanctions. US agreed to waive sanctions. See, now waiving sanction and lifting sanction, it is different. US agreeing to lift sanction means permanently taken away, no more sanctions, no more conditions. But US agreed that we will waive off. Sanctions will be there, but we will not implement. So US said that we will waive this for every 3 months, 3 to 6 months. Okay, they will keep waiving off. So Iran also agreed, you keep, as long as we are fulfilling our commitment, you please waive off. Iran also agreed on that. They will waive sanctions, and then now onwards, and all the amount frozen, everything, Iran will get the money, their money which is frozen in various accounts across outside Iran, they will start getting. But now the difficult part for Iran, what all Iran agreed in return, US said that yes, you have a right, but kya bola? Number one, Iran was asked, they said that Iran's 2 facilities, now Natanz and Fordo, they said Iran will not have any other facility. They will have facility only at Natanz and Fordo. Iran cannot make any other facility. And number 2, it was said that Iran will enrich only up to 3.67% enriched uranium. They will limit their enrichment level to 3.67%. Iran says we have a right to enrich. US said you enrich. Kitna? Only 3.67%. You cannot increase the percentage. You enrich up to that. Then number 3, Iran was asked to shut down. They had 20,000 centrifuges. They are asked to reduce the number of centrifuges to 5,060, and only the oldest and the least efficient can work. Okay, you keep it alive, 5,060 centrifuges, but the oldest and the least efficient, not the new and the better efficient ones. Older than the least efficient should work. And Iran, number 4, it will not stockpile more than 300 kilograms it will not stockpile more than 300 kilograms of enriched uranium, and that too 3.67% enrichment. Okay, and they will not, this is for the next 15 years. For the next 15 years. So after 15 years, Iran can increase if they want. Okay, but the next 15 years, Iran can have only 300 kilograms of enriched uranium, and that too 3.67% enriched. And then they also said that no enrichment in Fordo for the next 15 years. No enrichment in Fordo in next 15 years. Then in Iraq, there was a heavy water, or rather a heavy water nuclear facility, or a small research reactor. There was a research reactor which could produce plutonium. Okay, Iraq, they had a facility, a research reactor which could produce plutonium, and they agreed that they will dismantle it. They will not they will not commission this reactor, will not commission it. Or they will not produce plutonium from that, it will be used only for some nuclear medicine, okay, which will not produce nuclear, it will not produce plutonium, only for nuclear medicine. And then Iran will allow all their facilities for IAEA inspection, 24 hours, 365 days. Okay, all their facilities, 24 hours, 365 days. And there will be live streaming of their research facilities. Okay, live streaming will be there. So that Iran cannot say that मैं रात को करूँगा कुछ नहीं. Okay, you cannot do anything. Live streaming will be there, 24 hours, 365 days monitoring by IAEA, and you know, there is, and inspectors also will be there, plus CCTV monitoring. Okay. So, and Iran also, they also said that IAEA may request for inspection of military sites. IAEA may request for inspection of military sites in Iran, and Iran will not deny the inspection. Okay. IAEA may ask for inspection of the military sites also, which that means Iran may delay at the maximum, बोला ठीक है कल आ जाओ परसों आ जाओ, लेकिन they cannot deny it. And also they agreed that they will not have heavy water, because you know heavy water is used in the enrichment of the uranium and all. Heavy water they will not have, not more than 130 metric tons. Iran will not stockpile heavy water, will not stockpile more than 130 metric tons. And according to, these were some of the conditions. Then once it is fulfilled, once Iran fulfills that, sanctions will be lifted. And if Iran violates any of these commitments, if Iran violates any of these commitments, sanctions will automatically snap back. Sanctions will automatically snap back. That means no need to pass a separate resolution. Now at that time, see what is the beauty of this is, now Russia or China cannot stop that sanction, because it will automatically, without doing anything. Okay, there is no need for a separate resolution for the sanctions, and that sanctions will be for 10 years with a 5-year extension possible, with a 5-year extension possible. See, please understand, if Iran violates any of these provisions, no need for a separate UN resolution, automatically sanctions will be snapping back. That is what they say, it will snap back. And an 8-member joint commission will be created, joint commission to monitor. In that, P5 plus 1 plus Iran. Who are these 8? P5 may already P5 plus Iran, plus Germany plus European Union plus Iran, that is why 8. 8-member joint commission to verify the compliance. IAEA will certify, IAEA will give the report and they will modify. The IAEA, the technical responsibility is with the IAEA. Okay. So this is the condition. In fact, all these conditions are quite humiliating for Iran. इसमें कुछ भी ऐसा नहीं है where you can celebrate and say मजा आ गया, है ना? But only thing you can always say, see, our right. What is the right? Right of enrichment, right of peaceful nuclear program, it is protected. So Iran got some concession, But in the process, all economic sanctions will go. Iran can sell their oil anywhere they want. So they can come back and their economy can be brought back to normalcy. So Iran was literally, they were skewed by this, sanctions after sanctions, and even the unilateral sanctions by the US and the European Union. It is quite, humiliating and quite difficult for them. Ultimately, Iran agreed, and it was a, I'll say, escape route for Iran. But at the same time, Iran can always say, we fought for our right, we got it. But through a difficult route, they got it. It's fine. So now a joint commission will inspect and cross check, and this what you call JCPOA came into force. This was signed in July 2015, and discussions went on, and finally this joint committee in 2016. The joint commission in 2016 reported that Iran is complying and the sanctions were lifted. Sanctions lifted in January 2016. In January 2016, the sanctions were lifted. Now, what is that, the issue with this agreement? The only issue is, it has not permanently stopped Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. The deal, there is a sunset clause in this. What is the sunset clause? The deal will end in 15 years. There is a sunset clause. That means the deal is for 15 years. For the next 15 years, Iran cannot enrich beyond 3.67%. In the next 15 years, Iran cannot use further plant. For the next 15 years, Iran cannot have more than 300 kilograms of enriched uranium. Everything is for 15 years. Now the question asked by the critics, what will happen after 15 years? Obama and team said that, abhi pehle let us secure for the next 15 years, baad mein dekhenge. If at that time come, we will decide. If Iran is going ahead with the weapon, then it is a problem. At that time, we will see. At least for the next 15 years, it is almost impossible for Iran to make weapons. And according to the Western experts, had they not been agreeing with this, going ahead with this agreement, Iran would have made a bomb within 1 month. Okay. Had there been no agreement, Iran would have assembled at least one bomb in 1 month. Now, because of this clause, if Iran walks out of this treaty at some point of time in future, it will take at least 1 year for Iran to assemble a weapon. Are you getting what I am saying? So, the experts, the argument in support of the agreement was that if you are not having an agreement, within 1 month, Iran will be ready with an atomic bomb. If because of this agreement, Iran will not be able to make a bomb that fast, you will get a 1 year time. Within that 1 year time, the world can also prepare to counter it. So, they said the breakout time, that's called breakout time. Okay. Breakout time for Iran is extended to 1 year now. If everything goes well, next 15 years, no weapons from Iran. If something goes wrong, after Iran breaks out or rather come out of the treaty, it will take at least 1 year for Iran to make the weapon. So, that way the world will have enough time to prepare. Okay. So, that is what the, the supporters were arguing. But the big question mark was that the clause or this agreement will end in the next 15 years. That means 2030, Iran is once again free. But the argument in support of this agreement is, Obama supporters and all, they said 15 years is a very long time. Okay, in today's world, 15 years is a very long time. What will happen, maybe nuclear technology itself will be redundant, who knows. So, why should you worry about what will happen after 15 years? Pehle apna kaam dekho. So, all these arguments it came, but definitely this was the big challenge. So, please remember this agreement, 2015 agreement, this JCPOA is not permanently stopping Iran from making the weapon. It is delayed. The breakout time has been extended to 1 year now, and Iran, there is no doubt, there is a very, very stringent monitoring mechanism in place. There is a very stringent monitoring mechanism in place. So, world is definitely more safer than what was there without the agreement. Okay. So, that was the argument put forward by, and moreover, Iran had to ship out the 98%, because they can keep only 300 kilogram. That means they were forced to ship out 98% of stockpile, mainly to even most of their heavy water, everything they have shipped out to Russia. So, ले जाओ, हमें नीचे कूड़ा कबाड़ा हो गया हमारे लिए. Okay, so it became a waste for them. They were forced to send out. So, what was they were having, what they had, now it has been reduced to just 2% of their original stockpile. So, that way definitely things became a bit more normal and faster, and even countries like India, हम लोग we again rejoiced. बोला मजा आ गया, पहले क्यों नहीं किया? Okay, why? Because for India, Iran, as I was mentioning, see, Iran is the gateway to Central Asia. Okay, Iran is the gateway to Central Asia, because if Iran comes back as a normal country, we have huge potential to do business with Iran. In fact, within no time, after that also we have seen that Iran became the second largest exporter of oil to India within 2 years. Okay, and then to connectivity for Central Asia, a wonderful opportunity. Connectivity to Afghanistan, we were investing heavily in Afghanistan. That is why we are developing a Chabahar port and a road line, a road to connect, that Shahidan and then into Afghanistan we were doing, and to Central Asian republics we wanted connectivity, and even to Russia we wanted connectivity through Iran, where we were talking about an international north-south transport corridor connecting Moscow with Tehran, with Bandar Abbas to Mumbai. Okay, Moscow, Tehran, Bandar Abbas to Mumbai, a transport corridor, international north-south transport corridor. In fact, we signed a preliminary agreement in 2005. But unfortunately, Ahmadinejad came and then everything went haywire. And what did this? Just see, from Mumbai, now let me just draw it. See, right now, if you have to go to Europe or even to Moscow, the route is very, very difficult. We know it very well. Now, if you have to go from Mumbai, you will have to go to Gulf of Aden, then Red Sea, then Suez Canal, Mediterranean Sea, and then go through Black Sea, Sea of Azov, and from here you can go to Moscow. Now, through this international north-south corridor, what we are proposing is, from here, they already have, land rail route to Baku, from Baku to Tehran, Tehran to Bandar Abbas, and from here to Mumbai. This will save almost 40 days. Sorry, total, if you are going by this route, it is 40 days, this route it may take 22 days. Almost half the time we can transport goods. Even through Caspian Sea also, it can be, some of the ships in Caspian Sea can take to the north, and from there also it can be carried. So, this project which we started in 2005, the aim was to improve the connectivity between India and Iran. Okay. So, and to Russia. So, we were planning that is called INSTC, International North-South Transport Corridor. So, tremendous potential. Then oil and natural gas, we were even planning that IPI, Iran, Pakistan, India pipeline. Okay, a pipeline starting from Iran, a pipeline starting from the gas pipeline, because Iran has one of the largest deposits of gas, and from here through the southern coast it can reach India. Of course, Pakistan is there in between. So, we were fearing that instead of gas, terrorists will flow and all those things, but हमने बोला उसके अंदर पाइपलाइन में अगर टेररिस्ट बैठ गया तो क्या होगा, मतलब डाउट्स हमारे मन में जो डाउट आया, इतना ज्यादा डाउट पूछा कि प्रोजेक्ट ही कैंसिल हो गया. ओके, सो फाइनली बिकॉज ऑफ आवर डिसएग्रीमेंट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान, दिस IPI never worked. Otherwise, even at that time, we are again talking about 2005-06 time, we were talking about this will be a peace pipeline. Peace will flow. We said no, gas will flow. बट सपोर्टर से नहीं गैस नहीं होगा इसके अंदर, इसमें पीस होगा. ठीक है, जो भी है पीस हो गया और फिर कुछ नहीं फ्लो किया, अभी तो बर्बाद. ओके, सो वी हैव नथिंग. इवन वी वर प्लानिंग ना विथ फ्रॉम तापी, तुर्कमेनिस्तान, अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान, इंडिया, तापी पाइपलाइन. कुछ नहीं, यही है सिर्फ नाम. वी स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पाइपलाइन, बहुत बड़ा बात किया, ज्यादा बात किया, फाइनली कोई गैस नहीं निकला. China did not talk anything. They have already 2 pipelines from Turkmenistan to China. 2 pipelines. Then they have a oil pipeline, from this point. So there are 3 pipelines. Much after India started talking about the pipelines. Okay, हमने बात करते गया, कुछ नहीं किया. Even we are talking about Myanmar, Bangladesh, India pipeline, MBI, फिर हिल गया. पता चला गैस ऑलरेडी चाइना पहुंच गया. तो ऑलरेडी दे हैव ऑलरेडी सेटअप. हम लोग सिर्फ बात करेगा, चाइना विल एग्जीक्यूट. ओके, सो एनीवे, सो वी कैन नॉट गो बियॉन्ड अ पॉइंट बिकॉज वी हैव ए पाकिस्तान इन बिटवीन. ओके, सो दैट इज व्हाई चाबहार, वी थॉट अफगानिस्तान वी विल बी एबल टू डू समथिंग. फिर वहां पे भी गया, अभी क्या है, कुछ नहीं. वी हैव टू क्लोज इवन द एम्बेसी एंड कम बैक. ओके, सो दैट इज अगेन, we will talk about that at some point of time, not now. So anyway, so India, we have tremendous potential. We thought this will be a game changer for us. So 2015, definitely a country like India, it was we were all welcoming, because this will have huge impact on our economy, our oil import, our connectivity to Afghanistan, our connectivity to Central Asia, our connectivity to Russia, the international north-south transport corridor. So all these things, we were seeing huge potential. And also, Iran is a very influential country in the OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries, is a 50-member organization, and in that Iran plays a very crucial role, and we can, in the Islamic world, we can have a better connectivity and improvement. In fact, during Narendra Modi's time also as Prime Minister, Sushma Swaraj as the Foreign Minister even addressed the OIC summit a couple of years before. So we were all looking, so Iran can be a potential supporter for India in OIC. So that is what we had tremendous hope in this. So meantime, now coming back. So 2016, that this, joint or rather this agreement or rather the nuclear deal, the Iran deal, started getting operationalized, and this JCPOA is working. Meantime, in November 2016, Donald Trump, okay, अगर कोई कहीं शांति है उसको how to break that, अपना ट्रम्प साहब आ गया. So now he came with altogether different ideas and ideology, and he said this JCPOA is the worst ever deal he has seen, because he has not seen anything else. Okay, so when our leaders say na, history began in 2014, because they have never read history, they have never read NCERT. एक बार स्कूल जाओ, एनसीईआरटी पढ़ो. अभी स्कूल नहीं जा सकते, अभी भी पढ़ सकते हैं लोग. ओके, सो सिंस दे नेवर रेड हिस्ट्री, नाउ फॉर देम एवरीथिंग स्टार्टेड. कंगना रनौत यार 8वीं क्लास भी पास नहीं हुआ, फिर बोले कि हिस्ट्री में ऐसे हुआ, हिस्ट्री मेरे लिए हिस्ट्री इधर शुरू हो गया. फिर तुम बोल सकते हैं ना तुम्हारा हिस्ट्री आज शुरू हुआ, इधर ईरान से शुरू हुआ. Okay, so anybody can say anything, the same thing has happened. So Trump had totally different ideas. He started saying this is the worst agreement, the worst deal, and the US will walk out of this treaty at any given an option. Okay, meantime, in February 2017, 1 year passed of the agreement, IAEA, February 2017, IAEA reported saying that the Iranian stockpile has come below 3.67% of enriched uranium, and they have only 101 kilograms of uranium. They can keep 300 kilograms, but they have reduced it to 101 kilogram, and the enrichment has come below 3.67%, and also they have less than 130 metric tons of heavy water. 130 metric tons of, they have come down in that level also. Meantime, in 2017 May, Hassan Rouhani got re-elected. Continuity from their side, but Iran continued with their ballistic missile programs. Okay, वो नहीं छोड़ा, because there is no agreement in this. Ballistic missiles. What is ballistic missile? A missile which can travel in a parabolic path. Okay, ballistics. Ballistic missiles. Their ballistic missile programs continued. And meantime, Trump started telling every now and then, मैं जाऊंगा, मैं छोड़ूंगा, I will go out. Okay, the statements were going on. In April 2018, E3, now a new group, the European 3 in the P5+1, that is Germany, UK and France. They told US, please don't do anything to destroy this agreement. Iran is complying, and IAEA is every quarter. IAEA is reporting in every 3 months the Iranian compliance, and every time they are reporting and saying that Iran is complying, Iran is well within the JCPOA agreement, nothing to worry, and they kept on reporting positive reports. But our Trump started insisting that I have a problem in the sunset clause. I already said what is sunset clause. What is that? 15 years, the treaty will end. Trump said that we have problems in the ballistic missile programs of Iran. But Iran said that it is not part of the agreement. There is nothing to do with the ballistic missile is different. Now, then isko koi control karna chahiye. Then he also said that Iran is supporting Syria, Iran is supporting Yemen, Iran is supporting Hezbollah. All are enemies of US, so kuch karna chahiye idhar. So Trump started adding new points. Okay, and finally, in May 2018, Trump announced that US will walk out of P5+1. Okay, May 2018, Trump announced that US will walk out of JCPOA. And in November 2018, the US imposed unilateral sanctions against Iran. Okay, Trump announced unilateral sanctions against Iran, and they declared an oil embargo, oil sanction or oil embargo, meaning asking the rest of the world not to buy oil from Iran. But the US gave concessions to major oil importing countries. Okay. What they did is, they said don't buy. Then they said, but India, China, Japan can buy. Are you getting this? पहले बोलेगा कोई नहीं खरीदेगा, सब लोग हिल गया, तब बोला लेकिन. What is that? So then they said there can be countries like India, China, Japan, South Korea, who are the primary consumers of Iranian oil. They waived the sanctions. I mean, saying that embargo will be there, but you are given some concession, but this is for 6 months. After 6 months again we will check. So that same old system they brought in. So what is that Trump wanted? Trump's demand when they walked out, number one, same story. Trump said, number one, this is not stopping Iran permanently. So Trump says there should be a permanent solution. That means that the agreement should permanently stop Iran from having this 15-year clause is the problem. So there should be not stopping Iran permanently. That is number one. Number two, Iran should abandon the ballistic missile program. Iran should abandon ballistic missile programs. That means they should not develop any ballistic missiles. Number three, Iran should stop supporting the rebels. Again, very difficult proposition. Number four, they said when the sanctions were lifted, Iran immediately could access almost $100 billion. Okay, their own money only, Iranian money, which were stuck in various parts of the world. Iran could immediately access almost $100 billion. And Trump said that this $100 billion will be used for terrorism. Okay, उधर खाने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, मर रहे हैं. Okay, so they will use for terrorism, weapons. Okay, oppression. Okay, apna kahani. Iran will be using for this only, so we should stop it. And as I told, there should not be any expiry date for the agreement. It should be permanent. Okay, permanent one should be there. That is what Iran said. Sorry, Trump said. Now, Iran said we are fulfilling our commitment, and it's not that I am saying, or it's not that Iran is saying. It is JCPOA and IAEA is confirming every 3 months. IAEA is confirming we are fulfilling the commitments. Now US is the aggressor, US should come back. I mean, I did not do anything wrong and you cannot impose sanctions on me because I have not done anything wrong. That's the truth also. Iran did not do anything wrong. They did not violate any treaty. They did not violate any of their commitments. IAEA was certifying every 3 months that they are fulfilling, and they have gone much below whatever they were asked to do, or rather much lower than what they were allowed also. So once again economic sanctions pressure started, and concessions were given to 6 countries. I told you these concessions were given to India, China, Japan, South Korea, then Italy, Greece and Taiwan. Okay, Italy, Greece, Taiwan and Turkey also. 8 countries. Okay, but when US did this, the E3, European 3, they did not take the US line. They still considered this JCPOA as a success. They considered JCPOA as a success, And Europeans were also afraid that this can have a serious impact on the refugee crisis in West Asia, and these refugees were walking to Europe. You might have heard about that, walking and then swimming across Mediterranean Sea and dying and so many things. And refugee crisis, and it will be with, and in all these places, Iran is a player. So they thought that, by keeping Iran under check in an amicable way, this refugee crisis can be better handled. So, but US had other ideas. So, this ultimately led to the difference of opinion between European, the E3 and US. And finally, this European 3, they said that they will establish a separate business deal with Iran. E3 decided to have a separate business deal, because now US is not participating. These fellows said that no, we cannot, Iran says you fulfill, if you are committed, you please, and now Iran took the high moral ground. They said, ye kya hai, like that. So when Iran said, earlier we used to blame Iran for everything. Now Iran says that you people are not fulfilling what you said. So they started a new arrangement called INSTEX. 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 That is Instrument in Support of Trade Exchanges. Instrument in Support of Trade Exchanges. It is a special purpose vehicle, SPV, special purpose vehicle for European companies to deal with Iran or to avoid the US sanctions. It is called INSTEX. They established in January 2019. They have established this in January 2019. Then, meantime, some more developments took place. In June 2019, Iran was accused of attacking 2 oil tankers. Oil tanker attack in Gulf of Oman. Then again, subsequently, after that, Iran also shot down a US surveillance drone. Iran shot down a US surveillance drone, all in June, June 2019. And once again, after the US withdrew, now Iran is saying we are not bound by JCPOA, we will restart our program. And in July 2019, Iran announced that they crossed the 300 kilogram limit. Limit, and also the 3.67% cap in enrichment. They said we will enrich more than 3.67% and we will have more than 300 kilograms of the uranium, enriched uranium. So in July 2019 they announced. In fact, France in August 2019, France offered a $15 billion credit line to Iran in return. Iran should fulfill JCPOA. $15 billion credit line to Iran by France. That is offer. Of course, nothing happened, provided Iran will stick to the JCPOA commitment, that is below 300 kilogram enriched uranium, not more than 3.67%, and then heavy water should not be more than, so all those conditions. And Iran kept on increasing their enrichment. In September 2019, so now both sides are taking steps to violate and break and move ahead. So in September 2019, IAEA certified once again. I mean, it says that Iran is installing new centrifuges, because they were not supposed to set up new centrifuge, only old and inefficient to be continued. So they have installed 22 IR4 centrifuges and 33 IR6 centrifuges, new ones. These are all modern, more efficient centrifuges Iran started setting up. IAEA certified that they are setting up all these things. And in November 2019, more European countries joined this INSTEX. Okay, in November 2019, more European countries joined INSTEX. And one big thing further happened was that in January 2020, the US managed to kill one senior Iranian official, okay, that is Qasem Soleimani, Major General. Qasem Soleimani. Qasem Soleimani. He was the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Okay, so that is the elite force. He was the head of the elite forces in Iran. He is considered to be very firebrand and great Major General. So Qasem Soleimani was killed by US in retaliation to whatever they have done. And in January 2021, this is 21, January 2021, not 20, please correct it, 21. 2020, 2020, okay. So that was in 20. Then in Jan 2021, Iran said that they are opening Fordo for 20% enrichment. They were not supposed to enrich in Fordo, but now they are saying they are reopening and they will go for 20% enrichment. Meantime, in 21, January 20th, world had a sigh of relief when our Joe Biden became the US president, and he appointed Antony Blinken as the Secretary of State, and he immediately said that we can once again renegotiate JCPOA, because after all this JCPOA is a Democrats only negotiated. Okay, John Kerry was the Secretary of State at that time during Obama's time. So JCPOA is a Democrat product. So naturally they did not want to give up. And meantime, in June 2021, June 19, 2021, another elections in Iran, and now this time Ibrahim Raisi. Ibrahim Raisi, again considered to be a moderate, got elected as the president of Iran. And meantime, IAEA has reported that Iran is going ahead with 60% enrichment. Okay, 20, then 60. Okay, next target is 60% enrichment target they are moving forward. But diplomatic talk started once again, P5+1 plus Iran talks once again started with full speed. Now, it is reported that within a few days, now in the coming days, there will be a final agreement once again. Okay, that is February 2022. Okay, now in that 2-3 conditions they have said, it is said that if everything goes well, this new agreement will also implement in phases. It will implement in phases. Then in the first phase may be for up to 3 months. Okay, if it is agreed, maybe by Monday, Tuesday they will sign. That is what everybody is saying. So they have reached that level, substantially close to an agreement. That is what they are saying. They are very close to an agreement, substantially close to an agreement right now. In the first phase, Iran will limit their enrichment to 5%. Okay, we are talking about the broad outline. Nitty-gritties will come out. You can also add at that time. Next week anyway, you will get it in the newspaper. So you can add at that time. So Iran will limit the enrichment to 5%. And then in return, also Iran will also release all Western prisoners. Okay, they will release all they could arrest in between. कहीं ना कहीं से जुगाड़ के अरेस्ट करके जो रखा है, कहीं जा रहा था, कहीं रास्ते में पकड़ के बोला कि तुम अंदर आ जाओ, अभी दिखाता हूँ. All this, to increase the bargaining power, they have done that. And initially there may not be any waiver of sanctions or anything. Then as the next step, in the after the first phase will be for 1 or 3 months of basic minimum and some lifting, or rather the US will lift some sanctions, like some $7 billion Iranian dollars are stuck in South Korea. Okay, some money which is stuck in some South Korean bank, Iran will be allowed to release that money. So like this, some bare minimum initially will be permitted. And then when the second stage begins, that second stage will be termed as the re-implementation day. Re-implementation. Okay. So same JCPOA will be re-implemented. So that may happen after signing the first stage, it may be 1 to 3 months. A re-implementation day will be there, and when the second stage will begin, and then in that Iran will return to its original 3.67%, less than 300 kilograms and less than 130 metric tons of heavy water. But again, in return, US will waive sanctions, all sanctions, waive off, not lift. Okay, US will waive off all sanctions, not lifting. But right now, what is stuck, why the agreement has not been signed till now, only one major disagreement. The one major disagreement is this time Iran wants a guarantee, that US will not withdraw in future. Now, who can predict which pagal will come to power again? Will not withdraw. ये तो कम बात नहीं है ना. Who predicted Trump 4 years before? Nobody could predict. Even till the day of election, nobody thought. So somehow, but last minute, you know how whatever happened, you know, you just read, you will understand. It is a tragedy that he became. So agreement, but then Iran says if this agreement is not possible, if this guarantee is not possible, then Iran is saying at least pass a resolution in both the houses of US. Because when President Joe Biden signs something, it is only one person, even if he is the President of the US. If Parliament, if both the houses of USA, the House of Representatives as well as Senate passes a resolution, that will have the stamp of the whole country. But again, anyway, any deal signed by the President will have to be approved by the US Senate and Parliament in any case. But Iran says we will sign after they pass the resolution. That is one suggestion. Or Iran is also in, agar ye bhi nahi hoga, then you please include, if US withdraws, you please give in writing that I have a right to enrich till 60%. Are you getting this? Now Iran is saying, ठीक है, ये भी नहीं करना है, ठीक है, ये लिख लो. If US withdraws, Iran has a right to enrich till, naturally वो तो देगा ही नहीं. So that is the sticking point right now. This a permission that US will withdraw and you enrich till 60%, 100% is not going to come. So some via media and Iran getting a guarantee. Again, guarantee is किसका क्या guarantee देगा? कौन जिंदा रहेगा नहीं रहेगा? How will you give guarantee? Guarantee is not possible in any case, but this has definitely, the bottom line is, the final conclusion is, one man, how much a person can destroy the credibility of a nation. आप सोचो, Trump, see now if, my only point is, had Trump did something and had he knew the way to enhance the security of the world, it is okay. Had he managed to get some additional commitments from Iran, it would have been okay. They could not get anything, and the US has become a laughing stock in front of the global community. Now, one side US says JCPOA, your international commitments, it's very important. You have to fulfill the international commitment. You signed a treaty and came back. It is approved by both the houses of the parliament in US. Now, a president comes and says, nahi, mujhe maja nahi aaya, main ja raha hu. This is how you can destroy the credibility of a country. Tomorrow, if Americans sign another treaty with any other country, people will ask the same question. Where is the guarantee? No, that you have to keep to your words. I mean, as a country, we cannot go back. So that is why when your international credibility is lost, if our country is taken as an example for what you should not do, that is the worst thing it can happen to you. That is the worst credibility crisis you can face. Just see what happened in the Singapore parliament. Now, if Singapore Prime Minister is telling, look at India and let us do something, it would have been a great thing. Now, what did he spoke? He spoke that aisa nahi hona chahiye. This should not be the way a country should progress. How bad the whole situation is. And we are creating it. And this is where the narrow vision of the leadership. So this is what exactly Trump has done so Trump has done unimaginable damage to the credibility of US. And this is what we should take example and we should be careful. Unfortunately, time only will tell whether we Indians will be able to take example from all these things and learn a couple of lessons. If we are not learning, it is disaster. Okay. So anyway, so that is the situation. Let us hope this JCPOA comes back. If it comes back, once again, one immediate result for India will be the international oil prices may come down, because Iran also will come into the market, right? So, oil prices, see, otherwise oil prices are going to touch $100 per barrel. Anytime it can happen. So, if that happens, and then after March 10th, till elections, of course, oil prices will not increase, petroleum prices will not be increased in India. That is even though it is market linked. So when elections are there, market will vanish. After elections are over, market will come back. So then our petrol and diesel prices will skyrocket. Now, this 100 rupees for petrol and all, when the crude oil prices were around $70 per barrel. Now, if it is going to $100, so naturally it has to be compensated by from our consumers, or the taxes has to be reduced, either way. So, if the JCPOA comes back to force, and if Iran is allowed to trade freely, international oil prices also may come down a bit. Okay, so let us hope this will be a good. And Trump had done many more damages, like Paris Climate Accord, they walked out. They had a Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, Trump walked out of that. So from UNESCO, Trump walked out. So you name any number of institutions, how many places Trump has destroyed their credibility. Now even Americans cannot count and tell. Yeah.
There are rumors that Israel also has nuclear weapons.
Yeah, Israel has nuclear weapons. Rumor नहीं है. नहीं कौन नहीं काउंट किया?
A lot of people say there are N8 and not.
नहीं वो तो ठीक है. But Israel's only difference is Israel has never conducted a test. So that is officially they have not proved that they have. So I can only tell मेरे पास है. लेकिन हमने तो explode करके prove करके दिखाया. But Israel has not. That is only different. But Israel is the biggest enemy of this JCPOA. Israel says JCPOA will destroy Israel. I mean, all those things are going on. Anyway, yeah. What? Algiers, I said, that 400 and after 444 days, the 52 diplomats who were kept in captivity by Iran, there was an agreement in Algiers between Iran and US, or the Algeria brokered that agreement, and after the agreement, these 52 diplomats, 51 of them, one of them died in between, 51 diplomats were released by Iran and they were safely sent back to US. Okay, that is the Algiers agreement. Okay.
What is the stand of
Khamenei, देखो ये ईरान जो बोल रहे वही खमेनी है. हाँ, in this.
He also posted a video on Twitter.
हाँ.
That they'll kill Donald Trump because.
अरे ये सब तो छोटा मोटा धमकी देना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं, मैं मार दूंगा तुमको, इतना ही बोला और कुछ नहीं किया, कुछ करेगा कुछ नहीं, टेंशन मत लो. ओके, सो ये सब you have to posture, you have to show your posturing for your own in front of your people ना. तो बहुत बार ना पाकिस्तान को नहीं बोल रहे, इधर जो बैठा है आपको बोल रहे. ओके, so that Khamenei also fatwa, killing. You please remember when Salman Rushdie, when he wrote Satanic Verses, fatwa निकाला कौन? Iranian Ayatollah Ali बोला कि इसको मार के ले आओ, लेके आओ उसका माथा. Okay, I will give you so many $1 million. अभी तक मार नहीं पाए ना, सलमान रश्दी मस्ती में घूम रहे. ठीक है, उतना ही है. Okay, so that's all. Thank you. See you next week. Bye bye.